When most people hear the word ancestors, they think immediately of bloodlines, parents, grandparents, and the long chain of relatives stretching into the past. Family trees, genetic heritage, and DNA tests all reinforce this idea, presenting ancestry as something purely biological. Yet, when it comes to spiritual practice, this narrow definition falls short. Ancestral veneration is not just about blood, it is about connection, memory, and relationship. Your ancestors are not only the people whose genes you carry, but also the ones who shaped you, loved you, taught you, and walked beside you during life. This distinction is more than semantic. Many people hesitate to engage in ancestral work precisely because they believe it requires them to honor all their blood relatives, regardless of who those people were in life. If you grew up with abusive parents, neglectful grandparents, or toxic relatives, the idea of venerating them at an altar feels not only unappealing but outright harmful. It raises a troubling question. Why should you give spiritual reverence to those who wounded you? The short answer is you shouldn't. Ancestral veneration is not about obligation, it is about choice, respect, and relationship. The misconception that your ancestors are only your blood relatives and that every single one of them must be included does damage to the practice itself. It makes people feel trapped in an unwanted relationship with the dead, as though death somehow erases all harm and obligates the living to forgive and revere their abusers. That is not ancestral veneration, that is spiritualized guilt. The ancestors are not a faceless collective who demand worship. They are individuals with whom you can choose to build relationship. You do not need to open your ancestral altar to every relative who ever lived. You do not need to force yourself to work with people whose presence would cause you pain. In fact, doing so can pollute the very practice, turning what should be a source of strength and grounding into a site of conflict and distress. Instead, you can choose who walks with you. Your ancestors are not simply your lineage, they are your allies. They are those among the dead who uplift, support, and guide you. If a blood relative falls outside that circle, you are under no obligation to welcome them in. When we widen our definition of ancestry, we see that it extends far beyond the biological family tree. An ancestor can be anyone who left a lasting remark on your life and continues to walk with you in spirit. This includes, for example, teachers and mentors, which are people who passed on wisdom, skills, or inspiration. A teacher who shaped your worldview, a mentor who guided your path, or a spiritual elder who initiated you into a tradition can all become part of your ancestral current. Also, extended and chosen family. Many people find their deepest bonds outside their biological relatives. Friends who became siblings, partners who shared your soul, or community elders who provided care and guidance are all ancestors when they pass on. Also, the beloved dead. These are the people who you loved in life, friends, companions, lovers, whose memory continues to live in you. Death does not sever love, it transforms it into a different kind of presence. And also, cultural ancestors might be artists, thinkers, rebels, and innovators who shaped your identity. Even if you never knew them personally, if their work or life opened doors for you, they too can be part of your extended ancestral lineage. When viewed this way, the field of your ancestors becomes much richer and more intimate. You are not forced to venerate those who harmed you, nor are you limited to strangers whose only connection is genetic. You build your ancestral practice out of those who matter most to you. This broader perspective is especially important when it comes to adoption. If ancestry were only about blood, adopted individuals would be spiritually cut off from their ancestors, left with nothing but an unknown or inaccessible lineage. But that is not how ancestral relationships work. A child raised with love by adoptive parents will often feel a stronger ancestral bond with them than with unknown figures from a birth certificate. It is the lived relationship, the bond of care, nurture, and memory that carries spiritual weight. The parents who raised you, the family who claimed you, and the community who embraced you are your ancestors, regardless of biology. For those who do not know their bloodlines at all, ancestral veneration can still be profoundly meaningful. You can call upon the teachers, friends, and chosen family who shaped your life. You can honor cultural figures who gave you inspiration and belonging. You can remember those who loved you, who stood with you, and who made you who you are. In short, no one is excluded from ancestral practice simply because they lack knowledge of genetic history. One of the most damaging misconceptions about ancestor work is the idea that death erases accountability. People assume that once someone dies, they must forgive them, honor them, and include them in their spiritual practice, no matter what they did in life. But this is not true. Death can transform a person, but it does not erase the harm they caused. You are under absolutely no obligation to forgive an abusive parent or honor a cruel relative. Now, to do so against your will would be to betray yourself. You are allowed to draw boundaries, even with the dead. You are allowed to say, "You harmed me, and you do not have place here." Your altar, your practice, and your spirit deserve protection from those who would poison them, even if they share your DNA. This is not about holding grudges into eternity. It is about recognizing that ancestral practice is meant to nourish and empower you. It is a living relationship with the dead who love and support you, not a forced ritual of obligation. If an ancestor's presence would harm you, exclude them. Honor only those whose presence is healing, protective, and loving. Now, once you free yourself from the misconception of compulsory blood veneration, you gain the freedom to build an ancestral practice that is personal and meaningful. Your altar can include photographs of beloved friends, objects that belonged to your mentors, or offerings to cultural figures who shaped your path. You can pour water, light candles, or speak prayers to those who walked with you in life and continue to guide you in spirit. The key is relationship. Just as with the living, some relationships with the dead are worth cultivating and others are not. The ancestors you honor are those who give back when you call, who offer guidance, protection, or simply presence. Ancestral veneration is reciprocal. You give offerings, attention, and remembrance, and in return, they walk beside you, opening doors and strengthening your spirit. Over time, you may find that your ancestral practice evolves. Someone you did not feel close to in life may step forward in death with a new energy, offering reconciliation. Someone you once admired may fade as their relevance to your path changes. The practice is dynamic, not fixed. You are always free to reshape it to reflect your needs, your growth, and your relationships with the dead. When freed from misconceptions, ancestral veneration becomes one of the most grounding and empowering spiritual practices available. It connects you not just to a biological chain of inheritance, but to a web of love, memory, and belonging. It roots you in continuity, reminding you that you are not alone, but part of a living stream of relationship that transcends death. For those who have suffered harm from blood relatives, this broader perspective is liberating. It allows you to reclaim the practice without having to venerate your abusers. It gives you permission to build your altar with those who loved you, who taught you, and who stood beside you. It opens the practice to those who are adopted, estranged, or disconnected from bloodline ancestry. It shows that no one is excluded from the circle of the ancestors because the ancestors are not just about blood. Okay. Hope that makes some sense, and I hope it helps some clear up some problems and misconceptions that so many people have at the moment. Um, if you are interested in ancestral veneration and picking that up, my necromancy course, it's the Witch's Guide to Necromancy and Death Magic. It goes a bit further than just ancestral veneration and working with the ancestors, but it does include ancestral veneration if you are interested in the whole big bundle and package. That does come in 4 formats. There's the 2 courses on the Witch Academy. The one is text-based, but you also get the audios of there's about 15 guided meditations, and you get the actual audios with that. Then there is the full video version. It's the same thing, it's just me talking to you instead of you reading text, and also the recorded audio guided meditations. There is then you can go onto my Lulu store and get a paperback version. Obviously, no video recordings and no audio recordings in that one. Or you can go directly to my website or my Patreon and get a PDF copy of that. And if you are on Everand, if you're a subscriber to Everand, you should be able to find all of my electronic books under my profile on Everand. All right. So if you are interested in that, hop over, see which price range fits you and which you would prefer. Some people prefer the audio, some people prefer to read it for themselves. So that's why I created all the different options. But anyway, all the links are in the description below if you are interested in that. Okay. And as I said, I hope that made some sense and cleared up some problems. But I'll see you next time. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.